you believe you belong to your own mind. You believe the thoughts in your head are your own, and the decisions you make are a reflection of your free will. Let us test that theory. If you cannot sit in a completely silent room for 10 minutes without reaching for a piece of illuminated glass, you are not a sovereign creator. You are a biological peripheral for a digital machine. You have been hacked. The Matrix does not control you with physical chains. It controls you through the invisible hijacking of your most valuable currency, your attention. Every time you scroll, every time you react to a notification, every time you consume a piece of useless data, you are freely giving away the quantum fuel required to build your own empire. Over the past several transmissions, we have secured your perimeter. We taught you how to cut the feed from the Matrix news cycle. We showed you how to enter the void, how to delete the non-player character scripts, and how to establish a thermodynamic seal against energy vampires. The quarantine phase is over. You did not undergo a spiritual awakening just to hide in a cave and protect your energy. The Chosen One does not retreat from the simulation. The Chosen One conquers it. We are transitioning from defense to offense. It is time to return to the three-dimensional marketplace, not as a victim, but as an apex predator of reality. You are here to build physical, undeniable power. You are here to construct wealth, influence, and architectural dominance. But you cannot build a physical empire if your biological hardware is constantly crashing from data overload. In this transmission, we are going to weaponize your focus. We will decode the neuroscience of the default mode network and expose the biological parasite feeding on your distraction. We will teach you the mechanics of attention alchemy and how to clear your neurological RAM to download the 5-dimensional blueprints of your success. This is not a guide on how to be mindful. This is a military-grade system override. Before we access the hardware, you must declare your absolute authority over your own bandwidth. You must signal the algorithm of this reality that your attention is no longer for sale. Go to the comments right now. State your sovereignty. Write, "I command my focus." To hack the system, you must first understand how the system hacked you. The architects of the social matrix understand human biology better than you do. They know to keep a powerful creator trapped in a low-frequency loop. They do not need to fight you physically. They simply need to overwhelm your processing power. Inside your brain, there is a specific interconnected web of brain regions known in neuroscience as the default mode network. This network activates when your brain is in a state of wakeful rest. When you are not focused on a specific demanding task, the default mode network turns on. It is the neurological seat of your ego. It is the part of the brain that ruminates on the past, worries about the future, and constantly compares your avatar to the avatars of others. In a healthy, sovereign human being, the default mode network is a tool for self-reflection, but the Matrix has weaponized it. The system has flooded your environment with a constant, relentless stream of hyper-stimulating data. Social media algorithms, breaking news alerts, short-form videos, and digital notifications are specifically engineered to hijack this network. They keep your default mode network in a state of perpetual overdrive. When this network is hyperactive, your brain is constantly scanning for threats, social validation, and cheap dopamine. You are no longer observing reality. You are reacting to a synthetic stream of manufactured panic and hollow entertainment. This is why you feel a constant low-level hum of anxiety in your chest. You are not suffering from a psychological disorder. Your biological hardware is overheating. You are suffering from information obesity. You consume thousands of gigabytes of data every single day. You watch videos on how to get rich. You read quotes on how to be powerful. You consume endless content about the spiritual awakening. But consumption is not creation. Scrolling through the achievements of others does not make you intelligent. It clogs your system. The Matrix wants you fat with information and starved of execution. They want you so stimulated, so distracted, and so exhausted by the noise that you never have the raw energetic capital to build anything of your own. Every minute you spend watching a non-player character dance on a screen is a minute of quantum rendering power stolen from your own future. The simulation is a zero-sum game of attention. Where your focus goes, the holographic architecture of reality follows. If you point your focus at the trivial, the dramatic, and the chaotic, you will manifest a trivial, dramatic, and chaotic life. The chosen one must recognize distraction for what it truly is. It is not a harmless habit. It is an artificial intelligence algorithm reaching through the screen, tapping into your prefrontal cortex and siphoning the neuropeptides required for you to alter the three-dimensional world. You are funding the expansion of their digital empire using the battery life of your own soul. This stops today. The defense is over. The offense begins now. To build your empire, you must redefine your relationship with silence. The New Age spiritual community has fed you a highly corrupted definition of silence. They tell you that silence is for healing. They tell you to sit cross-legged, empty your mind, and float away into a state of passive bliss. They treat meditation as an escape pod from the harsh realities of the physical world. This is the behavior of the prey. The architect does not use silence to escape. The architect uses silence to reload. Think of your brain as a high-fidelity quantum computer. Your conscious attention is your random access memory, or RAM. Your RAM is strictly limited. It can only process a specific number of variables at any given moment. If you have 100 digital tabs open in your brain, worrying about the news, comparing yourself to a stranger on the internet, stressing over a text message, your RAM is at 99% capacity. When a system is running at maximum capacity, it cannot download new software. It cannot execute complex commands. It lags, it freezes, it crashes. This is why you have brilliant ideas that you never execute. This is why you feel the call of your spiritual awakening, but you remain paralyzed in the same financial and social coordinates. You simply do not have the available bandwidth to render the new reality. Silence is the active, ruthless clearing of the biological cache. When you turn off the phone, when you step away from the monitors, and when you sit in absolute physical stillness, you are forcing the background applications of your brain to shut down. You are starving the default mode network of its synthetic dopamine supply. In the first few minutes, your brain will panic. It will scream for stimulation. It will throw random thoughts, anxieties, and phantom urges at you. This is the parasite fighting for its survival. You do not fight back. You simply observe the withdrawal symptoms with the cold detachment of a scientist. You hold the line. As the minutes pass, the biological RAM begins to free up. The noise settles. The chaotic electrical storms in your brain synchronize into highly coherent theta waves. This is not rest. This is preparation. The silence of the chosen one is not the silence of a monk meditating in a cave. It is the cold, calculated silence of an elite sniper holding their breath before pulling the trigger. The sniper does not hold their breath to relax. They hold their breath to eliminate the microtremors of their own heartbeat. They hold their breath to align the crosshairs with absolute, lethal precision. When you clear your biological RAM, you are aligning your quantum crosshairs. The universe, the source field, operates on a specific, highly organized frequency. All the schematics for your success, the exact business strategy you need, the exact words you must speak to dominate a negotiation, the exact frequency required to attract massive wealth, all of it already exists in the quantum field. It is waiting to be downloaded. But the universe will not scream over the noise of your digital addiction. The God code is transmitted in silence. If your receiver is jammed with the static of the matrix, you will miss the transmission. You will spend your life guessing, struggling, and grinding like an unawakened civilian. But when you clear the cache, when you open up massive amounts of cognitive bandwidth through disciplined silence, the download is instantaneous. You do not have to figure everything out through trial and error. You receive the exact mathematical coordinates for your next move. This is how the architects of reality build empires while the herd burns out. They do not work harder. They operate with a clear processor. They weaponize their bandwidth.
Welcome back to the seat of command. You have identified the biological parasite. You understand the vulnerability of your default mode network. You now realize that the matrix does not keep you trapped through force, but through the relentless, algorithmic theft of your processing power. You have learned that silence is not a retreat. It is the tactical clearing of your biological random access memory. But a clear processor is completely useless if it is not put to work. We did not purge the system just so you could sit in an empty room and feel superior to the herd. The quarantine phase is officially over. It is time to take the bandwidth you have reclaimed and deploy it into the three-dimensional marketplace. You are going to take the God code you downloaded in the void, and you are going to physically render it into reality. We are moving into absolute offense. In this final phase of the transmission, we are going to teach you the mechanics of attention alchemy.
We will reveal the physics of the laser versus the light bulb, and we will give you the exact protocols to weaponize your focus to build undeniable physical wealth and architectural dominance. You are no longer the prey of the algorithm. You are the apex predator of the simulation. Lock in. The override continues now. To master Attention Alchemy, you must understand how energy interacts with the physical world. Everything in the simulation is constructed of energy, but not all energy is equal. Consider the common light bulb. A light bulb takes electrical current and scatters its photons in 360 degrees. It pushes light in every possible direction. Because the energy is divided, it is weak, it is diffused. It can illuminate a small room, but it cannot penetrate the surface of a single object. It is easily ignored. It is harmless. The vast majority of the human population operates their consciousness exactly like a light bulb. They wake up and immediately scatter their photons. They give 10% of their attention to a social media feed, 20% to the anxiety of the daily news, 15% to the dramatic scripts of their coworkers, and another 30% to a television screen. By the time they attempt to build their own lives, to work on their own empire or their spiritual awakening, they have less than 10% of their energy remaining. Their focus is so scattered that it cannot penetrate the dense matter of the three-dimensional world. They work for decades and leave absolutely no physical dent in the simulation. Now, consider the laser. A laser can operate on the exact same amount of electrical current as the light bulb. It does not require more power. It requires coherence. In a laser, every single photon is forced to travel in the exact same direction. The waves of light are locked into perfect synchronization. Because the energy is not scattered, it becomes exponentially more powerful. A highly coherent laser does not just illuminate a surface, it burns through it. It can slice through solid steel. It can transmit massive packets of data across oceans. Attention alchemy is the biological process of turning your mind from a light bulb into a quantum laser. The chosen one understands that focus is not just a psychological state, it is a thermodynamic weapon. When you stop scattering your attention across the trivial garbage of the matrix, you are gathering your scattered photons. When you sit down at your desk or step into a negotiation and you align 100% of your cognitive bandwidth onto a single, high-value target, you become a biological laser. The matrix is terrified of a human being with laser coherence. The system is built on the assumption that you will give up after 10 minutes of frustration. It expects you to check your phone. It expects you to seek a dopamine hit the moment the work becomes difficult. But when you deploy Attention Alchemy, you break the algorithm. You slice through the dense resistance of the physical world. You solve complex problems in minutes that take the non-player characters years to understand. You write the code. You build the empire. You command the room. You do not need to work 20 hours a day to build an empire. You simply need to stop acting like a light bulb. You cannot simply command your brain to become a laser if its neurochemistry is deeply corrupted. Your attention is directly controlled by the molecule of motivation. dopamine. The social engineers of the Matrix have hijacked your dopamine pathways. They have trained your brain to expect a massive chemical reward for doing absolutely nothing. When you scroll through a feed and see an entertaining video, your brain releases dopamine. You feel a momentary spike of pleasure, but you have achieved zero physical results. This is the ultimate trap of the simulation. It separates the reward from the execution. If your brain can get a massive dopamine hit by simply staring at a glowing rectangle, it will completely refuse to do the brutal, unglamorous work required to build a physical empire. Why would your biology spend months building the physical architecture of your freedom or mastering a high-frequency skill when it can get the same chemical reward by playing a video game or watching a screen? To weaponize your focus, you must execute a ruthless dopamine fast. You must intentionally starve the parasite. This is the offense protocol of the Chosen One. For the next 30 days, you must severely restrict your consumption of cheap, synthetic dopamine. You delete the applications that steal your time. You turn off every non-essential notification on your device. You stop consuming short-form entertainment that fragments your attention span into 15-second increments. The first 3 days will be physical agony. Your default mode network will scream. You will feel restless, irritable, and deeply bored. You will feel an overwhelming phantom urge to reach into your pocket and check for a message that does not exist. Do not surrender to the glitch. This discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is the feeling of your neurological pathways healing. It is the feeling of the parasite dying of starvation. As you push through the withdrawal, a miraculous biological shift occurs. Your dopamine receptors begin to reset to their natural baseline. Because you are no longer flooding your system with cheap rewards, your brain becomes incredibly sensitive to dopamine again. Suddenly, the prospect of reading a complex book becomes deeply engaging. The act of sitting down and strategizing your physical sovereignty becomes highly stimulating. You have successfully reattached the chemical reward to the physical execution. You have taken the remote control away from the algorithm, and you have placed it firmly back in the hands of the architect.
A spiritual awakening that does not result in physical sovereignty is an illusion. If you claim to be a master of the universe, but you are constantly stressed about paying your rent, you are lying to yourself. The Matrix respects one thing: physical power. And physical power requires the manifestation of resources. The Chosen One operates on a completely different timeline. When you execute deep work, you isolate yourself. You put your device in another room. You close every irrelevant tab on your interface. You define one single high-impact objective. And for 90 uninterrupted minutes, you direct the full, terrifying force of your quantum bandwidth at that single objective. During this 90-minute block, you do not exist to the outside world. You do not answer messages. You do not check the news. You do not respond to the energetic pulls of the external environment. You are a thermodynamic vault, and all of your energy is pointing inward toward the creation of your physical architecture.
When you sustain this level of coherence, your brain actually changes its physical structure. You trigger the production of myelin, a biological insulation that wraps around your neural pathways. Myelin acts as a superconductor for electrical signals in the brain. The more you engage in deep, undistracted focus, the thicker the myelin becomes. Your brain literally physically upgrades its hardware to make you faster, smarter, and more lethal in the marketplace. You begin to process complex data at speeds that look like magic to the unawakened mind. This is how you outbuild the matrix. You do not need to fight the system. You simply need to operate on a higher frequency. 2 blocks of 90-minute deep work per day will produce more high-tier output than an average human produces in a month. You will build quantum systems that generate momentum while you sleep. You will acquire high-frequency skills that make your energetic signature utterly irreplaceable. You will construct a financial and architectural fortress that the chaos of the herd cannot touch. This is the true purpose of Attention Alchemy. You use the silence to download the blueprint, and you use the laser to build the city.
You are the sole owner of the most valuable resource in the known universe. Your attention is the quantum currency that collapses the wave function of possibility into physical matter. For years, the simulation has tricked you into spending your currency on fear, drama, and digital illusions. They kept you distracted so you would never realize the sheer magnitude of your own power. That era is over. You now see the default mode network for the Parasite it is. You understand that silence is the sniper holding their breath. You know the difference between the weak diffusion of the Lightbulb and the surgical strike of the laser. You are ready to execute the dopamine fast and engage in the brutal, beautiful art of deep work. The next time you feel the urge to pull out your screen to escape a moment of boredom, stop. Catch the glitch in real time. Take a deep breath, pull your scattered photons back into your chest, and point your laser at the empire you were born to build. Lock the command into the physical realm. Signal the network that your bandwidth is permanently secured. Go to the comments. Write, "I command my focus." Your focus is now a weapon. Your biological RAM is clear. The laser is fully calibrated. But a laser is only effective if it is pointed at the correct coordinates. What if you are aiming at a future that is too small? What if the empire you are trying to build from scratch already exists in a parallel frequency? In our next transmission, we move beyond the physical brain and enter the mechanics of the multiverse. We will decode the science of reality shifting. We will show you the quantum proof that you do not have to wait years to achieve your vision. We will teach you how to use your new laser focus to bypass time entirely and shift your consciousness into the timeline where you have already won. Prepare the coordinates. The Matrix 963. Out.